All right. What's up, man? How's it going?
Going well, man. Everything's good.
How's training been?
Hard, super hard. Breaks you down. You feel like an idiot every day walking into the gym. Like, why am I about to do this? And then when you leave, you're happy that you went. So yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, that's good. When do you plan on getting into the octagon next?
Well, I got a call a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was last Monday. To fight in like 3 weeks on the John Jones card. And I told him no, I needed a full training camp. I've got some little nagging injuries and stuff that were going on, but I still wasn't even like medically cleared. I had some stuff with my nose and with my eye that I couldn't spar for like another week. I had to get cleared by the doctor, so I could have taken it, but I would have had 2 weeks to train. So I don't know, man. There's no rush. Maybe late spring, early summer. Just give myself a couple months to get better. And but I don't know. I'm crazy, so they might call me with something short notice, and I'll say yeah. So
Yeah. Well, as you see, I'm wearing the little Lakers jersey today.
yeah.
Were you a fan of Kobe Bryant or basketball or anything?
Well, I I grew up. My father was a big Chicago Bulls fan, so. In the late '90s, early 2000s, we watched a lot of basketball. Um, I didn't follow much. Obviously, Kobe was the best of this era, if not second best, and super inspirational. Probably next to like Michael Jackson or maybe like a Robin Williams or something. I can't think of any celebrity that's died that has gotten this much like just everybody's making a post about it. So
Yeah.
I didn't keep up with basketball or anything. Obviously, it's super tragic and everybody's been affected by it. So yeah, man, my heart goes out to his family. Uh, Super sad, especially being in the public eye. They're probably not gonna get any peace and quiet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, just how like life works and stuff. But
Whew.
um, well, you're a featherweight, right? How do you feel about that division right now in the UFC?
Uh, 45 is always, in my mind, it's the most competitive. You can make an argument for 55, or even for 35, but the smaller weight classes in general, 55 and down, uh, guys that particularly um, anywhere after 45, like 35 and 25, they don't hold their like one punch knockout power as much, but they're super fast. Um, but at featherweight, we're just like a perfect combination of you've got really good strikers, you got really good wrestlers, you got really good jiu-jitsu people. Uh, you still have people with one punch knockout power, and that seems to be the weight class that, at least from my experience, that varies the most in size. You got guys that walk, just in the high 150s, and you got guys that walk in the 180s, and that cut down to make 45. So it's anybody that's 5'8" to 6 foot, like they could make that weight class. So it's stacked. It's always stacked. It's cool being in a competitive weight class for sure.
Do you see yourself being a featherweight for the years coming?
I don't know. The last two fights I did before we got into the UFC were actually at lightweight, just because it wasn't having to cut. You're not making a ton of money in the regional circuit. So, but honestly, we're down here at American Top Team Coconut Creek at the headquarters training, and I, on average, uh, I'm one of the smaller featherweights. It seems just in like my frame and my like I'm on par with the height, and my reach is actually a little better than most of them, but um, everybody's just a little bit bigger than me. So I could spend a couple months trying to put on some weight. Um, but I don't know. I might try doing like a test cut to 135 or seeing if I could make like 138, 139. If I can do that, then I know I'd push and make the rest of it. But I don't know. You could see me, sometime this year, dropping down to 135. We'll see, or maybe I just stay at 45 and put on a little bit of size. So there's matches I like at 45, at 55, at 35. Just depends.
What would make you go down to 135? Would it just be like the test of cutting weight, or
What stopped me in the past was I wasn't making enough money. There was nobody outside of one of the big shows that was going to pay me nearly enough to, because life sucks when you cut weight. That would be like zero fun. You would hate. It would mean 8 weeks of, probably longer, honestly, but just with dieting. It would be miserable. In the early days, making 45 before I was as disciplined as I am now, it was pretty tough. Now it's not that hard at all, honestly. If I just have 3 weeks, I can get down to it. I don't need, I can just kind of chill the first 3 or 4 weeks of camp. But making 35 would be, it would need a lot of money involved, or just, the right, like, you win this fight and then we're going to renegotiate and get a bigger contract or something like that. So it's all a money thing, man. Just whatever. It's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth my time. It's got to be worth my effort. If I'm going to suffer for that long to make the weight class, it's going to have some kind of a financial payoff at the end. So yeah, that's what it would take.
Well, right now, like we said, you're a 45er, and how do
Yeah.
you feel? What do you feel like would be next for Max? Do you feel like he deserves the rematch?
Well, it was a close fight. I don't know anybody that had Max winning that fight. I had Alex kind of edging him every round. Now he's been the champ for a while, so usually if a guy defends the belt, 2 or 3, 4 times, and he comes in and it's it's kind of a close fight, or at least goes to a decision. I don't know if there's a clause in the contract or not, but it's kind of understood that you usually do an immediate rematch. But I don't know. Max has options. He can go up. You know, I would like to see a rematch just to see if maybe Alex had a good night. And I think Max deserves that because at featherweight, I guess his last loss was Conor McGregor. That guy's always pretty hot. So it was a decision loss too. That was the last guy that Conor has beat that he didn't finish. So Max had a really good run.
Yeah.
He beat Aldo twice. I think he deserves a rematch.
You just brought up McGregor, and that's what kind of sparked this whole question. But how do you feel about Stephen A. Smith's comments about Cowboy?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want. You just have to be prepared to, if he meets Cowboy backstage, Cowboy might not appreciate that. Now, at the same time, we as fighters know, I mean, people are brutal, man. Sometimes you go out there and you feel great, and for whatever reason, your timing's off. You just can't get going. You see things happening in slow motion. You're like, yep, he's setting up the armbar too easy. I'm going to explode now. And then it just doesn't happen. So, Cowboy, at least from the press conference, he seemed like he was excited, seemed like he was ready. And sometimes you just go out there and for whatever reason, you don't show up. And that's something that Steven would not understand because he's never done the sport. So
yeah,
it's just an outsider's perspective. But at the same time, Cowboys got to be ready for that because that's the nature of the business we're in. People that sit on the sideline, they're fans, commentators, doesn't matter if they're watching the fight, they've earned the right. I mean, they can say what they want. If they paid their ticket to be there, or in that case, he was getting paid to be there. So, I don't know. I wish he would have been a little nicer to Cowboy, but it's whatever.
You mentioned you're at ATT Coconut Creek. How long have you been there?
So I was down here a couple weeks ago for a week, and I'm down here for 2 weeks this time, and I'm gonna be doing like 2 weeks, just on and off, as I can afford it until I get a fight booked, and I'll do my whole camp down here. So it's another level here, man. You'll have 40, 50 pros on the mats at one time at the pro classes, and everybody at the pro level is either fighting in PFL, Bellator, UFC, 1FC, something crazy like that. You got champs on the mat. It's cool, man. Trying to get down here as much as I can and get really good hard. Like back home, it's rare that you lose a round in training, but here everybody's losing rounds. That's just what it is. Because everybody's at such a high level. So this is exactly what I need for sure.
For people that don't know, where is home, and where would you consider like your home camp?
So home is Clarksville, Tennessee. My two gyms that I'm out of is Harris Holt Martial Arts Academy. That's where I teach, and then Smash Brothers Jiu Jitsu in Hendersonville, Tennessee. It's about 45 minutes away. So those are the two places I do most of my training. I've got some other like boxing and wrestling coaches that I meet up with at other gyms, but most of my coaching staff comes and meets me at one of those two gyms, and that's where my training comes from. So home is Clarksville. It'll always be Clarksville. I'm a Clarksville boy no matter what. But and I'll always have the statistic of I was the first guy from Clarksville to fight in the UFC. I was the first guy from Clarksville to step foot into the UFC octagon at the Contender Series. And when I say from Clarksville, I mean like currently actively living and training out of Clarksville. You've had other people that have come through Clarksville and then moved somewhere else and went on to fight, but I was the only guy. I was the first that was actually there, training, living, a current resident. So, yeah, that's my home.
Well, speaking of Clarksville, Tennessee, which, by the way, is about only like an hour away from Nashville,
Yeah.
so shout out to Tennessee. But Clarksville, they had another dude debut, Nate Landwehr, this past week. How do you feel about his performance besides the knockout?
I've had a lot of people send me that video and ask my opinion on it. Nate's always been really nice to me, so I won't say anything bad about Nate. I've had that team kind of give me a hard time through the years. They've, I've never done anything, but they've always attacked us. And, it's tough, man. He had 5-6 months to prepare for that. He had known about he had the contract for a long time. He'd known about that fight for a long time. That he had a lot of time to prepare, and we knew he was good at jiu-jitsu. Ended up getting stuck in a choke and stayed in the choke for a long time until eventually Herbert just kind of let it go. But had he not let it go, he let go because he didn't want to burn his arms out. But had he not let it go, I don't think he was getting out of it. Herbert let it go, and they stood back up. And the first time he hit him, it was a knee to the face and put him out. So, a lot of people are trying to compare because we're both from the same town, same weight class, whatever. It's not the same. He had 6 months to prepare. He had triple the amount of fights that guy had, and he was stuck in a choke for like 2 minutes. And the first time he got hit, he went out. I had 8 days to prepare. I defended 7 submissions, escaped all of them. I got hit like 140 times, and I didn't go to sleep. And then finally I got caught in a choke, but we almost made it to the third round, and he didn't make it to the third minute of the first round. So they're not really comparable. The guy that I was fighting had double the amount of fights, and Nate had triple the amount of fights as his opponent. So they're not comparable. Pretty straightforward with him. He comes to fight. He has good power in his hands, good cardio, super tough. But at the level that we're fighting at, you just can't you can't expose yourself like that. You've got to. So he'll be back. That's a match I would like to have whenever he. I'm sure they'll have him on some kind of a suspension or something. But we're both from the same area. Our gyms have been rivals for a long time. We both have exciting styles. I think that fight makes perfect sense. We both lost our debuts. I think that's a good one to set up. But either way, I wish him well in his whole career because we represent the same town. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you brought up your debut, you lost to Billy Q. First off, how cool was it to even be able to make your debut and make that walk?
Yeah, it was good. It felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I've never had any nerves for fights or anything, and I thought maybe it's going to happen this time, and it didn't happen. I felt like at home. It was great. The walk was great. Just being in the octagon felt fantastic, and the UFC staff, like the fight week process, everything is on another level. It's so freaking professional, so organized. Everybody, they got a staff member for like every department, and they're taking such good care of you. Unfortunately, I hadn't been in the gym in like 6 weeks. I had fought in October, and I got a call like 2 days before Thanksgiving or whatever, and they were like, "Hey, can you fight, the first weekend of December?" And I was like, I guess. And he was like, "Are you in shape?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." I'm lying. I'm not in shape. I'd come off of a knockout victory, and I had my back was giving me some problems. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to chill until the new year. I was just going to take October, November, December off. And, I'm still at the gym every day because I'm teaching classes, but I just hadn't been training. My cardio was awful. I was super heavy. But I was just resting, trying to get my back some time. I got these bulging discs, so it's just something you deal with. And of course, that was when I got the call. So I had 8 days to get ready. It was like 22 pounds I had to lose. It's a pretty tough cut for a week. And I was pretty honest with everybody backstage. I was getting tired during the warm up. I was like, guys, I don't have very much gas in me, so we're going to go out there and give it everything we got. But I'm going to get tired really fast. And striking is different, but once you start grappling and mixing striking in, you can hit pads all day long, honestly. You're just moving your feet a little bit and throwing your hands or whatever. But the second you start fighting, full contact, grappling, if you're not in shape, you'll drown. And that guy was in tip-top shape. I could feel from the pace he was setting right off the bat. And I had the thought run through my head, this guy's not that good. But I can't do anything to stop him. He's one step ahead of me. He's in way better shape than me. His pace is ridiculous. And, I was just felt like I was playing catch up the whole time. And eventually he got too many steps ahead of me, and I couldn't get out of the choke. So that was one of those fights where it's weird because that was actually like a perfect fight for me. If there's any easy fights in the UFC, it was going to be that one. We just kind of, I was like he was the underdog. I was the betting favorite. It was like, we knew we're going to get this guy. And I got so tired so fast. In between rounds, I was like, I'm done, guys, but I'm just going to go give it the best I got. And so, yeah, it's frustrating having a debut like that. I think I at least gained their respect taking it on 8 days' notice. But at the same time, it doesn't matter if you took it on 8 days' notice or if you had 8 weeks to prepare. You still lost. I still got submitted. I wasn't able to show them really anything. So next fight, we got to win. And we will. That's why I'm here making the adjustments and doing what I need to do. So, yeah.
Do you feel like well, this is like a 2-in-1 question, but do you feel like you would want that rematch with Billy Q back in the future, and what would it take to get that rematch?
that would just take me. I mean, I don't like lose sleep over it, you know. Like he's a nice guy, whatever. For me to win a fight or two and him lose one, and then we run it back again, that makes perfect sense. It wasn't a close match. He outpositioned me the whole time. He kept going from submission to submission to submission. There wasn't really any point in the first round or the second round where I had control of the fight. He was on me from bell to bell. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know if anybody would even go for the rematch. I would be down to do it. I'd fight him right now in the parking lot. But, you know, I think I would have to get a couple wins, and he would, you know. But that's not something I'm pursuing. I'm just on to the next. You know, it's past. You know, we're down here. He's training about an hour away from me now, so, you know, because I'm down here in South Florida, so I don't know. Maybe we could even train together. So, yeah.
Yeah. What are your plans for 2020? I know you just said you would maybe not like. Well, you didn't say you would like it, but a fight with Nate. Do you see that in the future?
Yeah, that would be great. I think that fight makes a lot of sense. I think the fans would really like it. It's two like action-oriented guys who have a fan-friendly style, and we both bring a lot of people to pack the house. Neither one of our styles are like guys that try to take you down, hold you down, and do nothing. So, you know, you would probably just see a striking match the whole time. And you know, we're the same size, the same weight, come from the same hometown, and our teams don't like each other. So, you know, I think it makes perfect sense. I would love that fight. I think that would be a good match. The fans would love it.
Like the UFC would too, once they knew like the background of it.
Yeah. So that's not something I'm gonna like. You don't want to look like you're picking on the guy that got knocked out. So that's not something. And the UFC doesn't really like it when you try to tell them their job. Like, you don't have your manager call and say, "Hey, let's make this fight," because that's probably not the fight you're gonna get. They don't like it when you try to make matches for them. Let them do their job. But you know, we could definitely. That would be a fight that we can market. So, you know, if the media started talking about it a little bit, then, you know, it'd be pretty easy to run with, and then we could kind of approach it that way. Like, hey, you know, there's been 4 different articles come out that said this is the good fight to do. So what do you guys think? Like that, something like that. But like I say, he's probably on a 60 or 90 day suspension. Just typically what they do. I mean, they had me on a 30-day, and I wasn't knocked out. Nothing was broken or nothing. So, anyways, yeah. But 2020, man, I just want to get that. I need to get a win in the octagon. I want to get a UFC win. I'd like to have 2-3 fights this year. You know, start working my way up the ladder. But I want to fight my contract out, and then, you know, we'll renegotiate for bigger and better pay. But this year is kind of about like earning my spot and showing that I'm worthy of keeping my job. Like showing you gave me that shot, and yeah, I'll take a fight on short notice because I'm crazy, but I'm also skilled enough to be here and stay here and be a contender. So, you know, lots to figure out between weight classes and, you know, living situation and training situation and all that. But this 2020 is about keeping our job, and then 2021 will make a title run. So, yeah.
How many more fights do you have left on the contract?
We have 3 fights left on the contract. So, obviously the plan was to come in, win the debut super impressively, knock him out, turn around again real quick, fight somebody else, and then renegotiate for a new contract. Now, obviously, had a pretty dominant loss, got submitted. So now it's just about, I need to win these next 3, and then when we get to the end of my contract, show them that that was a fluke. I'm better now with a better team. That was like, I wasn't in shape. I was injured. Freak thing won't happen again. And I can tell him that all I want, but the best way to prove it would be just to go get 3 finishes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So you have 3 fights left. If in your perfect world, how many of those 3 fights will be in 2020?
Well, I mean, say we fight. It's January now. Say we fight like, I don't know, early April. And then we fight again in July. And then we fight again in the fall. You could make it work where we fight all those out this year. I've got to fulfill those 4 fights within 20 months. So I've got like 18 months, 17 months or whatever to get the next 3 fights in. So it'll be super doable. I would imagine we can get at least 2 of the 3 this year. But, we'll just see. No rush. Just want to keep getting better. Every fight that we do, that we win, that's good. There's no rush. I just need to get some money saved up, get my skills up, and there'll come the point when I'm like, all right, we're ready now, and then I'll just start taking fights like that. So.
All right. I got 3 more questions for you, and I'll let you go. But first one is, so you train at ATT. How much talk has there, or if there has been any talk about Jorge and Conor fight?
Jorge was at wrestling practice this morning with us, and I can tell you from training with him, that's a really horrible fight for Conor, because though Jorge doesn't show it because he likes to use his hands, he's one of the best wrestlers in the gym. So his grappling is phenomenal. He's so calm. His positioning, his grips, his hips, and he's just got this, like, I don't know, man. He gets in the zone. He's having fun, and he's legitimately like top 5, one of the best fighters in the world. And I see it. I see. I mean, I've seen it while we've been down here at the gym. Like, that guy, he's on another level. So, and people don't know that. They think he's just like a striker, but that guy's got his ground game's phenomenal. His wrestling's phenomenal, and he's bigger, and he's more explosive than Conor. So I haven't heard any talks or rumors of it. Just with how much wrestling he's doing, it would appear that he's probably getting ready for Kamaru, but it's whatever the UFC wants to do. Jorge's going to do what makes the most sense financially for him, and he's got his own personal goals and all that. So, he'll beat Conor, and he'll beat Usman and take the 170 title. And I would imagine those are his next 2 fights. I don't know which one will be first. But if I was Conor, I'd take that 170 win and just go back down to 55. He's in a tough spot, man, because Khabib is going to beat him. He's too big now to try to cut to 45, and if he does, he's got to fight Volkanovski, which is a tough night for anybody. And at 170, whether you're fighting, Masvidal or Usman, either one of those guys, they're just bigger and they're better than McGregor. In my opinion, Conor's in a tough spot right now. Any fight he takes next at any weight class is going to be a nightmare. So, yeah, but I haven't heard any talks about it or anything.
I got one more to add, actually, to the whole Jorge thing. Has there been any talks? I know there was for a little bit, but with Canelo, do you think?
Or
is that all just like talk?
That's something that he really likes boxing. He appreciates it, like studies it, watches old boxing fights, like legitimately fighting is kind of his his only thing in life. Like, that's what he loves. So he'll just sit around and watch old boxing fights, study it. He's always drilling. He's one of those guys that's always there, not there to hang out and socialize. So I know he's brought it up a couple times, like in the media. That's obviously a money fight. If he let him beat Conor McGregor or one of those guys, go get the 170 title on top of having the BMF title, it makes a lot of sense. With Dana White starting Zuffa Boxing, working alongside Floyd Mayweather, I would imagine they can get Showtime involved at some level. But that fight's not as far off as you would imagine it. I think that's kind of one of his goals. So I would imagine he gets a couple more fights in the UFC and then tries to pursue something like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're just taking a boxing fight against a boxing specialist, that's one of those for training camp. You stop wrestling, you stop kicking, you just work on your hands. But so it would make sense to do what you're going to do in UFC and then go take a boxing fight. But I don't know, man. Jorge would do a lot better against Canelo than people probably realize.
Yeah, I feel like that he would too.
He's not scared of him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then I got one more about ATT. Has Colby been back in practice or anything like that?
I haven't seen him. We have one of the same Coach Billy Patton. I'm working with him Wednesday morning. I know he's worked with Colby quite a bit. I knew he had some work done on his jaw, and a lot of his training, just with all the controversial stuff he does on social media, is kind of private training. He just with some of the beef I think is going on. I'm not for sure. I don't want to speak on it because I don't know exactly what the nature of everything is, but I think the majority of his training sessions are private training sessions that are kind of off the schedule. So no, I haven't seen him while we've been here. Joanna's in here every day working super hard. She's fighting soon. I don't know when, but
I think it's the next big fight after this. Is actually ties into my next question, which goes on good. Your predictions for the next like 3 big fights, which is Joanna and Zhang, and what do you feel like that's going to get done?
Well, I watch how she goes with the guys. The 125 and 135 guys, Joanna does just fine with. So
when she does spar with them, are y'all going like full on sparring or lighter?
She does. Yeah, you can feel whether she's hitting a bag, jump roping, shadow boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sparring, drilling, hitting pads, doesn't matter. Everything she does is like 100%. I don't know how she does it. She can go for days. She doesn't get tired. It's like super crazy. But that's just one of those, like, it's a little awkward. Like, what do? You hit her hard back. You sit there and let her. I mean, but she's gonna try to kill you for sure. But she's super nice. She's so thankful. Like after every, just thank you after every round. And dude, I don't know anything about Weili Zhang, like what she's training, but Joanna's killing it every day. She's here 2-3 times a day, outworking all the guys. And so I definitely got money on her for sure. I think she'll take it. I think she'll do whatever she wants to in that fight. And so, yeah.
How do you feel about Jones and Reyes?
That's the card they wanted me to fight on.
I feel like this is going to be another, like, Diego Santos fight where it's going to be super close.
You know, every guy is the guy to, like, beat John Jones. That's what they say. But
no one's done it.
I don't know. And as he gets older, he's smarter and kind of just doing enough to win. But just with the lack of experience, John comes from a wrestling background. He's had more fights. He's been doing this at a high level a lot longer than Dominick has. Now, the big thing coming in this fight is that Dominick is an athlete. But
So is John. Really, I mean, both of his brothers are NFL
John's
stars.
He's the greatest. Like, maybe not outside the ring. He's gotten himself into some trouble. But if we're just looking at his fighting alone, yeah, I don't know how Dominick beats him. He might be able to have some competitive moments and maybe go the distance. But if John Jones gets him down and controls him, with John's big frame, he's also like a lot stronger than he puts off. I think it won't be that close if it gets to the ground. And John's intelligence and his range will pretty much keep him safe against anybody. You're not going to knock John out with one punch, catch him coming in or something. He reads you super well. He doesn't take any risks. And he'll annoy you. I mean, there's little things like hand in the face, kicking your knee, whatever. Those are things that Dominick's never had to deal with. That fighting John Jones, immediately you're like, whoa, what is this guy doing to me? What is he? So I got John Jones winning for sure.
Do you feel like Jones is the pound for pound number one?
Yeah, he's got to be. He doesn't. I know he doesn't transfer weight classes. You got other guys that have, like McGregor's won belts in multiple weight classes. You got Masvidal, who's fought at multiple weight classes. You got Amanda Nunes, who's won belts at multiple weight classes. DC. You got other guys that are jumping around and stuff. But if we're just looking at somebody that's dominant, that's taken on the top contenders, and he's got to be the best.
Could you see some way somehow Amanda becoming pound for pound number one?
You could make the argument for her being number one too.
I feel like, I mean,
if we're just looking at skills and people that she's beat and things that she's done, she knocked out Holly, she knocked out Ronda, she knocked out Cyborg.
And she made Cyborg not look like.
And everybody wilts against Cyborg. Cyborg kills people, and Amanda took her out fast, came down there. Now the Cyborg that fought this weekend, she looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see that rematch, but people forget Amanda's a black belt. Amanda can wrestle. Just because she hits hard, it doesn't. If she needs to, because we saw it in the last fight, if she needs to, she can take it down. She can control you. She's a high level fighter everywhere, and she's like just happy and confident. She's so happy in what she's doing. She has fun with it. And somebody that's having fun fighting is terrifying to fight. If they're enjoying what they're doing, it's not. There's no nerves. It's not like, oh gosh, I gotta fight. Amanda's like, let's go, man. She's different. So, yeah, her and John Jones, like, obviously he's way bigger and completely different. He's a guy and whatever else, but you can make the argument that Amanda's number one, and if she goes and like just blows somebody out of the water with her next fight, and John gets a decision, you got to give it to Amanda. She's number one. And that's big. Because,
that's huge. If she could like secure that like on the UFC's ranking, that would be.
They used to say Ronda could beat guys, and then we kind of found out that like.
I feel like Amanda
massive holes in her boxing, but Amanda's different. Yeah, for sure.
Amanda's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, she goes with the guys. She wrestles with all the dudes, and she's bigger than me. She's way bigger. She's stronger than me. And she fights at 135 and 145. So, she's crazy.
And the last two big fights that I can come off the top of my head would be Chukagan and Shevchenko, and then Tony and Habib. How do you see those two going?
I don't see anybody beating Shevchenko. Not for a little while. She's so well-rounded. Again, that's somebody that's just like fought her whole background.
I feel like we need to see is it the third fight between her and Nunes? Or would it be?
I think they fought twice, yeah.
Yeah, third.
So,
I didn't know if they fought 2 or 3 times already. But
you've got that would be the fight to make. But I think Shevchenko wins. And then What was the other fight?
Tony Habib.
You know, I don't know. Khabib
This is the toughest one
never
to
fought anybody like Ferguson before, who,
Yeah.
He has a wrestling background, but he's so comfortable with what he does. Is a lot of times he doesn't even defend his takedowns. He just kind of lets you take him down, and that bothers people a little bit. But if he needs to get up, he's also really good at getting up. So that for me, and Khabib, like his takedowns are really mainly based against the fence. Iaquinta, McGregor, they did a good job defending takedowns when they're out in the open, but he likes to chain wrestle, build a lot of his stuff off of the body lock, work with taking out your wrists and taking out your feet and working a lot off back control. So, but Tony is way too scrambly, and his jiu-jitsu is
his bottom game is
ridiculous.
Like
with that 10th planet style is the jiu-jitsu style that beats wrestling, because it literally doesn't care what you're doing to somebody. I can wrap you up. So like the only thing that beats Brazilian jiu-jitsu is wrestling, but 10th planet jiu-jitsu is honestly so completely different. It's so crazy. You've got 3 or 4 stripe jiu-jitsu black belts that will get tapped by 10th planet purple belts that compete, because it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
So I give him a good chance. His striking is good, and somebody that doesn't have to worry about the grappling makes your striking that much more dangerous, because you'll throw with reckless abandon, not worrying about having to get up. Tony's not worried about the scrambles. He's not worried about Khabib submitting him. So he's just going to go out there and strike and have fun. Maybe he gets taken down, well, whatever. It's a 5-round fight. So that's what makes it scary. Somebody like a Conor or whatever, they're going to have to be way more calculated, because Nurmagomedov is a much better grappler. But I think Tony can just go have fun. And yeah, so if anybody beats him, it'll be Tony. I don't know. My gut reaction says Khabib just, does what he normally does, just maybe but he fades and but I don't know. If anybody can do it, it's Tony.
Yeah, I feel like, he's kind of like a John Jones. You kind of have to bet on him, but in my personal opinion, I think it's going to get third. It's going to get to maybe the championship rounds, maybe the 3rd round though. And then Khabib might start wearing out a little bit.
He gets a little tired. His style, when you have to constantly check everything. Check his hip, check his hands, control his head, chuck everything back down. Make sure you're always controlling a guy.
And
it
Khabib's
tires
never
you
been
out.
busted open,
Yeah.
or at least busted open to the point to where Tony can bust you open,
Yeah.
But I feel like that's gonna be it's kind of like inevitable. Tony's gonna make you bleed some way somehow. So I feel like that's gonna be a good thing, or not good thing, but something to watch for. And I feel like maybe Tony gets a submission off the back, maybe 3rd, 5th,
or at least he threatens with it enough to get a stand up, or to. Yeah. That's another point you just brought up. If Tony can cut him, Khabib has to keep head pressure while he wrestles. So if he can cut his eye, it's gonna either stop his wrestling, or he's gonna make his own cut worse while he's trying to grind and wrestle and everything else. So, and the more blood, the more slippery. It would be wise to go out there. You're fighting him and just start ripping elbows.
Yeah, so, and that's something Tony definitely can do.
Yeah, so. He's bony, man. I don't know. I think Tony can pull it off. He's got to have a good night, and you got to do everything right at the right time, and you can't.
Yeah, you can't slip up or something. Kind of, because in the Pettis fight a little bit, he kind of it looked like he slipped a little bit, and Pettis almost took advantage of it, but you can't do that against somebody like Khabib.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see.
But yeah, Well, that's all I have for you. I appreciate you taking the time and talking to me, man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right, we'll have to do it again sometime. Maybe get some fight news or something. We'll break it.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully we'll have something soon.
All right, man. Well, have a good day.